Today, we're making ramen. More specifically, we're making assisting me is going to be my lovely sous chef, my mom. 감사합니다. Okay, now go. Let's start with the items that need to be made first. Here I have some beautiful whole pork belly, and I'm going to use butcher's twine to perform bondage on this fat roll. I'm actually not the best at doing this, but as long as the roll is intact and thick, you're good to go. This is not sponsored, but I love this butcher's twine. I will try and find an Amazon link for this. The reason why I love it, not only is it super sturdy and pretty thick, so it holds up the pork really well, but instead of the yarn coming from the outside and when you're done with it, it's just like everywhere, it's from the inside. And these little details are what makes things like this so useful and great. Heat a large skillet on high heat. Once the skillet comes up to temperature, drizzle in 2 tablespoons of neutral oil. Gently drop your fat roll into the pan and sear it on all sides until it's crispy, golden brown, and fatty, just like you. We're going to let that rest while we make the marinade for the chashu. Cut the leeks into approximately 5cm chunks and also quarter the onions as well. Place the vegetables in a large bowl and drizzle in some neutral oil to coat our aromatics. Toss to combine, it's all in the flick of the wrist. Heat your skillet on high until smoke starts to rise. Then add the vegetables in, flip once they have charred and blackened. This process should take about 5 minutes. Transfer the charred vegetables into a saucepan and add light soy sauce, dark soy sauce, mirin, sake, brown sugar, white sugar, and water. The detailed recipe is linked below in my description box. Oh, can't forget about the ginger and the garlic. Heat on high heat until the sauce comes to a simmer. Drop the heat to a medium-low, then simmer for 30 minutes or until the garlic is fully softened. Put room temp eggs into a pot and cover with room temp water. Heat on high. Once the water comes to a rolling boil, set your timer to 6 minutes. It took me a while to set the timer and my camera, so I ended up going over, so my eggs turned out a little overcooked, but I ran so you could walk. Lower the heat to a medium and cook until your timer goes off. Cold shock the eggs in an ice bath to stop them from cooking any further. Then tap tap roll and peel. At this point, the sauce should be finished, so strain it and reserve 2 cups of the sauce. This will be used to marinate the eggs. Make sure to cool the mixture, unlike my impatient ongdongi. Gently drop your eggs in, cover, and let it marinate in the fridge overnight. Hey, remember our fat roll? We're going to now braise it with this beautiful sauce. Prepare a heavy-duty Dutch oven pot and pour the sauce over the pork roll. We're going to cover with parchment paper with a hole cut in the middle. This technique is called cartouche, and it's extremely useful to regulate the amount of moisture that evaporates while keeping the meat moist. Simmer the pork in the sauce on medium-low. Once it comes up to temperature, put it in the oven at 325 Fahrenheit for 2 hours. Make sure to rotate it every 30 minutes so that it gets cooked evenly. After the pork has finished cooking, let it rest in room temperature. So right now, the pork will be too soft and tender like a woman's touch, so we need to chill it in order to cut it into thin slices. Transfer the roll into a Ziploc bag along with the rendered sauce and let it rest overnight in the fridge. Now for the broth. Into a pressure cooker, add 1 large chicken and again the charred vegetables from before, more fresh onion and leeks, a knob of ginger, and enough garlic to kill a small child. Cover with water and cook for 20 minutes. If you don't have a pressure cooker, you're really missing out. It's a lifesaver and a time saver. Take it off heat, let it steam in the residual heat for 10 minutes so it doesn't splatter everywhere, and voila! You've got yourself a beautiful chicken stock that can be the base of any good soup. Now the alkaline noodles. We're going to be incorporating a little science into this. What's different about ramen versus fresh pasta is all in alkalinity. Okay, unpopular opinion, I'm actually not a big fan of fresh pasta. It's usually overcooked and has a mushy globby texture. Ramen noodles I love because it's chewy and springy and super slurpable. The kanzui process, a method of using alkaline solution for the dough, gives these noodles a bite to it unlike pasta. So how does one obtain the alkaline solution for the noodles? Well, we're going to make it and using an ingredient that's already probably in your house, baking soda. Baking soda, or its scientific name sodium bicarbonate, when heated in the oven at 200 degrees Celsius for an hour will become sodium carbonate, which is a stronger alkaline salt. By tracking the change in weight of the baking soda as it bakes, you'll know when the transformation from sodium bicarbonate to sodium carbonate is complete. Make sure to label this as it can be mistaken for other substances. Mix bread flour, salt, and sodium carbonate, then slowly pour in the water little by little to make sure that the dough is well hydrated. Mix with your hands in circular motion. The consistency should resemble wet sand. Shout out to @Ray of Ramen. This is where I got my information. His channel has amazing info on everything ramen, so please go check it out. So once the dough slightly comes together, transfer it into a large Ziploc bag. I recommend IKEA Ziploc bags because they're really sturdy. Make sure to get all the air out. Then step on the dough. Stepping is recommended since the dough is too stiff to knead by hand. Roll out the dough and run it through the pasta machine at the lowest setting and laminate the dough by folding it on top of each other by thirds. Repeat this process for at least 3 times. This is reinforcing the gluten structure, which gives the noodles that bouncy, chewy characteristic. Flatten the dough using the highest dial. Once the dough has been completely flattened, cut it using spaghetti thickness setting. Dust with potato starch and scrunch it together. This gives the noodles the scraggly unevenness that's better for the soup to adhere to the noodles, so when you slurp it, it has more flavor. Transfer the noodles into an airtight container and rest it in the fridge overnight so that it develops more flavor. I'm super tired from a full day of cooking, but I'll be assembling the final bowl tomorrow, so I'm gonna sleep. Good night. Good morning. You might be thinking, oh, you're probably filming all of this in one day because you're wearing the same outfit. Well, it's because I didn't change before I went to bed and I literally just immediately passed out, like, after I took my makeup off, which, like, I'm really proud of myself for. Anyways, today is the final stretch of making the Naruto ramen. So I want there to be kind of 3 aspects of the sauce. The first is gonna be the miso base, and I'm gonna use aka miso, which is this red miso. It's the funkiest, it's the oldest, and it's also the saltiest miso. I want to add a little more kick to it, so I'm gonna use this. It's doubanjiang, and it's a fermented bean paste. It's a little bit spicy and saltier. And the second component is the tare. So tare is just a flavored soy sauce, and since we already have this beautiful chashu and the marinade, I'm gonna incorporate this sauce into the broth as well. But because we have a lot of the meaty flavors, so what I'm gonna be doing is using this tare and incorporating some bonito flakes into it and simmer it down so it's thicker, more concentrated. So what a lot of people think when they use katsuobushi is to boil it as much as possible to extract all the flavors out. You know, the longer it is, the more flavor, but it's actually not true. This, because it's so thin, it will it's much better when it's steeped at a lower temperature. If you boil it for too high, like all the effervescent little flavors and the umami and like the smoky notes, it will get lost. So you want to turn the heat off and then put the katsuobushi in, cover with a lid or a plate, and just let it sit for 30 minutes and strain. I felt that was important. And then the last component is the aromatic oil. I'm going to be using ginger, garlic, and some scallions to make this beautiful oil that's going to infuse a nice aroma to the entire dish. Oh my god, this smells so amazing. And sure, using neutral oil is great, but I'm gonna use ghee. So ghee is just clarified butter. It will add a creaminess to the ramen broth that might be a little lacking from a regular chicken broth, so I think it'll be a great substitute. And for those who are saying, oh, ghee is not traditional, I'm sure no one's saying that, this is just in my head, but every ramen bowl is different. It's about what you choose to put in. So this is how I'm making the sauce, and feel free to experiment and make your own sauce. If you like more Tare based sauce, then more Tare.
Karen, they be sharing all their money, got me wearing fly. Girl, but I ain't asking. They say they love my ass in 7 G's to religion. I say no, but they keep giving, so I keep on taking. And no, I ain't taking. We can keep on taking. I keep on demonstrating my love, my love, my love, my love. You love my lady lumps, my heart, my heart, my heart. My humps, they got you.
How beautiful that is. Pickled bamboo. The chashu is like so soft. Look at this. Like, melts in my mouth. Oh my god. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, like, subscribe, and comment, and turn your notifications on. Bye-bye.
They say I'm really sexy, the boys that wanna sex me, they always standing next to me, always dancing next to me, trying to feel my heart, looking at my love. You can look, but you can touch it. If you touch it, I'ma start some drama. You don't want no drama, no drama, no drama, so don't pull on my hand.